Hey guys, it's 𝗪𝗏𝗡𝗚 here, and we are not back today with another build video. Today's video is actually a closer examination of Paralives. If you guys don't know what Paralives is, it essentially is a life simulation game that is being developed by an indie game company and has been in the works since 2019. Now, as a lot of people have been comparing Paralives with The Sims 4, I was very interested to do a more in-depth review of potential features Paralives could have over The Sims 4 in terms of building and creating lots and houses itself. As a quick note, I am not being paid or sponsored by either Paralives or the Sims 4 team, and any features that I do share in this video may change depending on how the game develops. And with that said, let's take a closer look at how Paralives can differ from The Sims 4 in build mode itself. Starting off is the concept of resizable and custom lot sizes. Now in this Paralives demo, it does seem like we have the freedom to actually create lots. We can actually change the different measurements of the lots and create new ones, almost to create a small neighborhood, if you will. Now in The Sims 4 itself, unfortunately, we don't have that flexibility. The lots that are there are already preset, and there is no way to add or move certain lots in the world itself, at least without the use of mods. The next concept we see is building without a grid. Now from the Paralives video, we see that we can actually freely place down different walls and objects without any sort of grid system visible. Now the grid system does play a heavy role in Sims 4 building, as you all know, but this new feature of Paralives could be either a positive attribute or a negative attribute depending on what you rely on as a builder. Now looking at the wall creation system itself in Paralives, it does seem like there is a lot more flexibility in terms of creating both angled and curved walls. From what is shown in the video, it does seem like we can create different walls of different angles apart from 45 degrees, and the curved wall system itself is also much more fluid. It's a lot less modular than The Sims 4, and we can also create partial curved walls as well. Looking at the platform creation system in Paralives thus far, it does seem to be more intricate than The Sims 4. From what I'm seeing, it does appear that platforms can be raised organically, as opposed to predefined steps along the way. Now the creation of steps and other intricate platforms also seem to offer more in terms of creating sharper angles and sharper details in comparison to The Sims 4 currently. From the demo itself, Paralives does seem to introduce a much greater level of flexibility in terms of placing both staircases and columns themselves. You can obviously see from the video that you can place stairs at different angles, we're not locked to a grid, and likewise columns have that same level of flexibility. Unfortunately, in The Sims 4, these are very difficult objects to work with because they do require a very specific locking to the grid. Sometimes they can also interfere with platforms or interfere with other objects, so it is interesting to see a much greater level of freedom in Paralives when placing these different objects on the lot. Now this is a smaller detail I noticed in the Paralives video. However, if you are applying flooring to a room and you want to change the direction or orientation of the flooring, there is in fact a button to do so very easily. Unfortunately, in The Sims 4, there is not such a feature. You essentially have to kind of color pick the tile itself once more, reorient it with your mouse or keyboard, and then reapply it to the room. So this is more of a faster and more convenient way to do this in-game. Now this is a smaller detail I noticed towards the end of the Paralives demo, but it does appear that we can place objects below the ground. In The Sims 4, we can obviously change the elevation of an object, but as you approach the floor or ground level, the object cannot go any further. So this addition in Paralives could make for some very interesting build options and also for interesting terrain options as well. The return of the color wheel has been something that Sims fans have been wanting ever since it appeared in The Sims 3, and lo and behold, Paralives seems to be reintroducing that feature in a really great way. This feature can be seen in a variety of different objects, including furniture, but also extending into light fixtures as well. So with different colors, with different custom colors we can add to our furniture, with different patterns we can apply and the combinations with that, there does seem to be a very extensive level of customization that is very much akin to The Sims 3. Now unfortunately, in terms of build mode, The Sims 4 is still very heavily reliant on very limited preset swatches and still does not offer a native color wheel without the use of mods. Custom colored terrain plants are definitely a very refreshing feature I noticed in the Paralives demo itself. In comparison to The Sims 4, we are limited normally to different color swatches seen on things like bushes, shrubs, and flower beds. But Paralives does reintroduce the color wheel, so we do have much greater customization now seen in our landscaping. Looking at the Paralives demo overall, there is a greater sense of fluidity in terms of how you can place objects in build mode. If we look at the dining table, we do see that we don't have chairs that snap automatically to the dining table. They do feel more organic and more easy to place. Likewise, that dresser or end table can very smoothly align and shift along the wall. And we do even have these grid lines that appear that can help better guide how we place objects throughout the house. Now, The Sims 4 still has a great variety of different viable options. With a combination of things like move objects on, the Alt key, and the different keystrokes, you can definitely create some very interesting arrangements. But the refinements and the different details of Paralives are definitely something to be considered. Apart from more fluid object placement, Paralives also potentially demonstrates the ability to scale objects much more fluidly. Building in The Sims 4, objects usually scale up or down in quite abrupt, very specific steps, whereas the demo of Paralives shows objects that increase or decrease in size in a much more controlled, gradual state, allowing for many more different build options. While being a small feature, the ability to flip objects is another feature I noticed in Paralives. This, of course, does not exist in The Sims 4, and flipping objects does allow for more versatility and more differences in objects you use in the space as well. Currently in The Sims 4, we can in fact move, rotate, and scale objects at will, but we are lacking this feature. The flexible object system is a very interesting and dynamic feature shown in the Paralives video. Now, from what we can see, we do have a lot of control over how we transform objects. We can pull them, we can stretch them, we can change their height and width, and this appears to be consistent throughout a variety of objects in build mode itself, including furniture, light fixtures, beds, desks, windows, mirrors, curtains, and counters, just to name a few. Now, unfortunately, in The Sims 4, we don't really have that kind of flexibility, and very few objects contain other alternate forms for us to use in build mode itself. Apart from the flexible object system, we do seem to have a greater sense of object customization in Paralives itself. Looking at the counter example, we do have a wide variety of different fixtures we can use on the cabinets themselves, offering a lot more design choices. And looking at the living room example, we do have a wide variety of different setups for the couch. You can add or remove cushions, you can reposition them, you can even merge ottomans to create other unique sofa and couch setups. There's definitely a lot of flexibility. Looking at The Sims 4 with just the base game and absolutely no CC, unfortunately there is not the same level of customization seen in the Paralives demo. We do have at least flexible counters and cabinets that can create some interesting setups, but beyond that, there's not really anything that can compare very closely, at least. Much like many of the other features shown in Paralives, there does seem to be a greater flexibility in terms of how you place objects on both surfaces and shelves. In The Sims 4, there are traditionally slots that are designated on objects themselves and require objects to sit in very specific predefined spaces. Now, you can obviously circumvent this using move objects on and the Alt key, but it is a little bit more cumbersome and it's definitely something you have to get used to. Based on the demo of Paralives, however, it does seem to be a lot more fluid. I don't see a lot of maneuvering around to place objects, so I definitely am interested to see how this system works when the game does come out. Now, apart from the handling of surfaces and shelving, I did notice something very interesting in this Christmas demo from Paralives itself. If you guys notice, the stockings hang very easily onto the fireplace, and it does seem like the fireplace actually has a physical presence in the room itself, meaning that apart from The Sims 4, the objects recognize that there is a set surface and very easily adhere to the surface without any use of move objects or alt. So it's just something interesting I noticed, and hopefully this does make it to the final product. Now, apart from more fluid object placements, we also get better object stacking. This is seen once more in the Christmas demo video, where the presents very easily stack on top of the other. Again, this is demonstrated in the living room example with the stacking of the lumber. And much like I mentioned before, it does seem like these objects have more of a physical presence, so it does seem like the objects are programmed to have mass and very fluidly interact with the other. This is much unlike The Sims 4, where you do have to rely on move objects on, alt, and the different keystrokes in order to make those objects kind of sit in the way you need them to, even though they don't really do that natively in the game itself. Painting customization is definitely an interesting feature introduced in Paralives. Now, apart from being able to fluidly scale, stretch, and place paintings themselves, we also have the option to change the artwork itself. Apparently, we do have the ability to upload our own pictures from our PC, and apart from that, we can actually customize the way the painting is scaled and how the painting is inset within the frame itself. Obviously, this is much more vast than The Sims 4, which has a much more limited array of swatches, and only some of the paintings actually contain alternate versions of artwork to use. Object personalization seen in the Paralives demo is definitely a very refreshing and very interesting attribute. In The Sims 4, we don't really have anything like this. The closest thing I can locate is the interaction with the gravestone if you want to write your own epitaph or eulogy, if you will. However, this doesn't really appear on the object, it just appears if you read the object, whereas the examples in Paralives with the addition of the Christmas stockings and their own version of the tombstones, you can actually input your own text, and that will physically update the object in-game to reflect the text that you add. The window seating as seen in the Paralives demo is probably not one of the main features, but it's definitely a nice fixture to have in comparison to The Sims 4. In The Sims 4, if you try to create something like this, you're more likely having to kind of create a makeshift window seat, if you will, maybe through the use of platforms, the use of cabinetry, and by trying to kind of glitch or place certain cushions or ottomans in there to make it usable for your sim. In comparison, the Paralives window seating seems to be much more realistic and fluid, and hopefully it does seem to work when a Paralives avatar does in fact interact with it. Finally, we have a look at the roof windows or window roofing as seen in Paralives, both in their build demo and on their special video for Maggie's Loft. Now, there hasn't been too much detail regarding this, but from what I see in the video, it does seem that there are highly customizable windows for roofing that actually follow the roof itself, can stretch and follow the curvature of the roof, and even fit into more triangular forms as well. In The Sims 4, we do have some capabilities, but these are not native to the game, and they usually do require more of a workaround or even possible CC to get the right effect. Alright guys, and those are all the 20 differences I could find between Paralives and its new features in comparison to The Sims 4. In the comments, definitely let me know what you guys think. Do you have any features in mind that would be great for Paralives? Or maybe features that you're really excited about that could make it to the final product? Now, I do want to say that I do enjoy playing The Sims 4 and I absolutely love building with it, but I am very open to the new features that Paralives is bringing, and will definitely be using their game and building lots in their game in the future. And with that, this has been 𝗧𝗛𝗏 signing off. Thanks so much for watching, guys.